Let's go to our counsellor's couch now this week. I'm joined by Clare Rowe, child and adolescent psychologist, and Dr. Tanveer Ahmed, of course, psychiatrist, who each join me every Wednesday. Well, we mix it around a bit, don't we? I want to change the topic now. There's so much horror unfolding in the Middle East. But I was struck by a fantastic article that I'm certain both of you would have some interesting insights on. And it traces back a lot of the mental health issues we're seeing with children these days to the fact that they're losing unstructured play, or they're too heavily supervised. Claire, what are your thoughts on this? Does it ring true to you?
Oh, absolutely, Chris. And we've known this for a while, and I think it's getting worse. And I think when I'm working with families and I tell them that kids need this unstructured play, I think they think it's so I can give kids a rest, and it's actually not. We know that there are crucial developmental processes that occur predominantly only in unstructured play. So if you're missing out on that, it's your social skills and your conflict resolution, emotional regulation, problem solving. So if your kid's missing out on that, it's part of their brain that's not developing. And I would go as far as to say that I think kids with unstructured play, and that is play without parents hovering, off doing their own thing, are really overrepresented with kids that I see with anxiety, depression, and even kind of ADHD behavioural disorders. So, yeah, I absolutely sit parents down and I go through their week, day by day. And most of it's just completely bombarded with, classes, structure, routine. Yeah. And we get to Sunday and is it a rest day? Oh no, we go to the beach, we go to the park, or we go to see a friend, or there's just no downtime.
Yeah, Tanveer, mucking around the local creek or the local park, we were able to do that. How does it? What sort of mental illnesses though does it manifest itself in, and how this lack of, I suppose, resilience that kids can end up with?
Yeah, look, Chris, I think parents are by and large are aware of that need, but there's a few trends that make it tougher. We've had basically a play deprivation experiment for several decades, and we're seeing some of the results in sort of high mental health disorders. But trends like declining community, working parents, and just a greater fear of danger has driven some of these behaviour. And there's another term called backseat children that a psychology academic began. And that's really, there's also the huge drive for credentials and status and for kids where you feel like you're competing and you've got to give them all these extracurricular activities and you're just taking them from one activity to another. So it's like parents are aware of the need of unstructured play, but almost can't work out how to fit it in.
Yeah, it is very hard. Unless you've got a big house with a big backyard and whatever. My kids were lucky they got to build a tree house at their grandma's farm during a lockdown. And I was giving another kid a lift the other day, and he said, I just built a tree house. And I said, where did you build that? He said, on Minecraft.
That's very interesting, Chris.
That's not really what I was thinking about.
Well, that's very interesting, Chris, because you're right, because every culture will have a parallel world. Kids need an adult-free world. These days, the only place they are able to find that is online.
Great stuff. Hey, Claire, I just want to get your thoughts on something you've sent to me about the fallout from The Voice and not catastrophising it for kids.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really concerned by the reaction by some parents who were staunch yes supporters. My social media of my peers, I suppose, has been filled with posts about, the shame they feel to be Australian and what a racist country we lived in. Chris, that I've written about in the past, the importance, I think, of our children feeling patriotism and feeling proud to be Australian because, if they're of this knowledge that we're an awful, racist, backward country and there's no hope, I think that it absolutely plays into their mental health. And like we've discussed with climate change, I don't think it mobilises them at all to make a better future. I think they just kind of feel helpless about it. And so I'm really concerned by the way that parents are portraying the result of Saturday to their children. And rather than using it as a teaching tool to talk about the democratic process and what a referendum is, the fact that this is what we've decided, this is great, this is we live in this wonderful country that does this, and now we need to still problem solve. This is not a vote against Indigenous people. This is a vote against the constitutional model that was put forward. And what I'm seeing is parents displaying it to their children as a vote against Indigenous welfare.
Yeah, and even if they have those political views as positively positivity, as you say, for the kids. Very quickly,
Chris,
Tanvir, we've got to go.
Key points. There's a term called therapeutic totalitarianism. Rod Dreher and American conservatives set it up. That's been growing in progressive circles. The Voice was a great example. You set up a group, you call them vulnerable and demand privileges for them, otherwise claim they're going to psychologically decompensate. And many of my colleagues suggested this. They're going to end up with all these mental health problems. And it's complete bollocks. But we saw that.
You shouldn't set it up for a fall.
We saw that throughout this debate.
Yep, see what your point is there, Tanvir. We are right out of time. Thanks so much for joining us, Tanvir Ahmed and Clare Rowe.